to hurt you. Don't know who is fooling, but the God's honest truth is I never wanted to. Trying to convince you that I am the good news. Trying to hide from you that I am a child and a fool. Dancing to the moon and stars, just to swing with and to swoon you. The truth is this old poison tore us apart and left me all alone singing in the dark. Left me all alone singing in the dark. Left me all alone singing in the dark. Chance to pierce in the wind. Don't mean to offend. It's one of my many sins. You with all your wisdom, you won't you try again? Listen, oh, now listen. I tried to convince you that I am the good news. I tried to hide from you that I am a child and a fool. Dancing to the morning stars, just to swing with and to swoon you. Truth is this old poison tore us apart. Left me all alone to sing in the dark. Left me all alone to sing in the dark. Left me all alone to sing in the dark. Down and listen. Oh, I'll not listen. And I'll not listen. Oh, I'll not listen. And I will not listen. No, I will not listen.
What's up, guys? My name is Quinn Warren. I will be your host today from the Energyverse. Today I will be interviewing local musician in Denver, Roscoe Naylor. And yeah, so Cole just... I guess you could say it's kind of got like a folk vibe to it. Anyways, I'll just let him explain what kind of music he's got going on here in Denver. Tell you a little bit of his story here. Heady Set Go.
Okay.
So cool.
Yes.
Where are you from?
I was born and raised in a little town called Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Nice.
So that's just east of Atlanta. So for anybody knows Denver, that's kind of the Aurora of Atlanta. Same kind of feel too.
Okay. Cool.
Atlanta's a little bit cooler than Stone Mountain. Like Denver's a little bit cooler than Aurora. I probably moved out to Denver. I think it was 11 or 12 years ago. And in between, I've lived in Oregon for a year. So,
okay, nice, awesome. So southern boy.
I'm a Southern boy. That's right.
Right on, man. But yeah, I gotta go check out Atlanta someday.
Yeah.
Or Stonewall.
Yeah. It's cool. I didn't spend too much time in the city. So my first experience with the city was Denver, for sure.
Nice.
Because right when I think I was still 17, I took a Greyhound out to visit a friend, which that's an experience in and of itself, is taking a Greyhound.
Yeah.
30-hour trip. And that was my first, and I was like, oh, this is the city life. And that was back when Denver wasn't quite as popular as it is now.
Yeah,
I don't know where are you from?
I'm from Denver.
You're from Denver?
South Denver.
So you're local.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 12 years ago it wasn't the same.
Yeah, no, not at all. Now it's kind of become this big thriving city, and some people love it, some people hate it.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But either way, it's
Denver
cool. Has become a really beautiful place. Always was, but
yeah.
Sweet, man. So, I mean, in what way did where you come from kind of like influence your music? Like, was there like a local scene there at all, or?
I'm pretty out of the loop as far as like local music scenes, especially growing up.
Okay.
Because I grew up homeschooled. I didn't get out.
Okay.
I didn't get out of time.
Right.
And I listened to whatever music my older brother had on his iTunes.
Right.
At the time.
Yeah.
Luckily, he had good taste that stood the test of time. Yeah. So I still listened to the same music.
Nice.
But I was out of touch, very much so, in Denver. And I guess a little am sometimes in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
I was out of touch in Atlanta and still can be sometimes in Denver.
Yeah.
And I definitely really like the production side of music and just listening to good recordings.
Yeah.
And the same thing, I don't know, I like to give people something they've never gotten before. Yeah. So that comes with, I don't like to play music exactly how I recorded it, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you mean you want to offer a different experience every time?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
You know? I'm sure there's some artists who do want to offer the same experience, maybe. I guess it depends on your audience, you know? Yeah. But yeah, I feel you when it comes to... I also got a lot of my music taste from my older brother. It's good to have a good older brother with good music taste, you know? So you moved to Denver. When did you start playing music then?
I started playing music more seriously probably just as an adult. Because I grew up in a musical family. My dad was a musician.
Nice.
And I have 9 brothers and sisters. Nice. So it's a big family. Most everybody's a little bit musical. Maybe there's a sibling or two because there's 9 of them. But nice. I just didn't have the taste for it when I was growing up because I was just constantly surrounded by it. I liked listening to it, but I took it a little bit more seriously. And my dad, he taught me the basics, but not much more than just G, C, and D on guitar. That's just worship music.
Nice.
So I probably started more seriously when I was around 18. And no, not even then. Because all I did was, like, my brother I lived with him for a while, and he had a baritone ukulele. Okay. And I just would, it's just an unobtrusive instrument that's just nice to have around, and it's not too loud or quiet.
Right.
And what are the strings on that? It's D, G, B, E. So it's just the bottom 4 of a guitar. Okay. So you it's like just a real accessible instrument, and I just would play that for years and years. And then finally, it was actually a mutual friend of ours. We went to this open mic because they wanted to go to this open mic to play a song.
Right.
And they played a song, and think I was 26. This was 4 years ago.
Okay.
And then after the open mic, they asked me, when are you playing? And I said, I don't know. They said, next week. And I said, okay. And then that started a need to play all the time. I went every week after that.
Nice.
And then I never really liked folk music that much.
Right.
But it was just easy to bring a guitar, so I started writing folk music.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's why that happened.
Right on. So, was that at Mercury?
That was at Corner Beat.
Oh, Corner Beat. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I've heard they have a pretty cool open mic there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's alive and well
Yeah.
now with COVID and everything. But, yeah. That's cool, man. So you kind of were like, someone just kind of like put you up on the spot, and that just kind of...
And before that, all I ever did was just try to make electronic music just alone. And if people were willing to listen, I would definitely hijack their attention. And just like, listen to this if you're willing. And and that's not the most fun way to listen to people's music, because then it's a shitty recording in a car.
Yeah.
I don't know if you swear.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. You fucking say whatever the fuck you want, Cole.
But it was definitely invigorating to like get on stage and play for people. It was terrifying at first, but that kind of opened the door to this folk world. Because before that, it was just like either baritone ukulele, which I didn't write any songs, I would just fiddle.
Right.
And then anytime I tried to write a song, I was trying to write electronic music.
Nice.
And Logic, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, personally, I have a place in my heart for folk music just because my folks grew up playing a lot of folk music, It's like Bob Dylan, Neil Young. Gosh, what's his name? He just passed away recently. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
But so the music that you play now, you would consider it folk music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I consider it folk music.
Yeah, I would too.
It's got more experimental, and the stuff I'm recording at the moment is not folk music.
Right.
So it's kind of fun to get back, kind of like go to where I was before I started the folk music, because when I first started the open mic and playing live, it was pure, just me and a guitar, that's it. And then I recorded a few songs like that, and then I got a little bit more experimental. I recorded like 10 songs. That's pretty
nice.
It's definitely folk, but it's a little bit more, lots of layers.
Cool.
A little bit more lush than just guitar and vocals.
Yeah.
And that was a fun thing to recording, because I feel like it shows, because nowadays when I listen to it, I can hear all the errors and all the flaws in my mixing or whatever, but at the time, like, I can still feel that I felt it, and that just kind of makes all those errors acceptable.
Yeah.
So, was there a question?
Not really. So, you were playing under the name of Cole Naylor, right?
Correct.
And, so, yeah. You just came out with a single. It was really cool. What's the name of that again?
The Good News?
The Good News, yeah. And so, like, Cole's doing all the production for it. He does all the sound engineering, and he's also doing all the video. He did a really cool, like, music video for it, and it starts off really cool. Like, you kind of, like, came out with this trailer first, and it was just, like, it was like you, just hanging out with you. Yeah. And there was, like, multiple yous in it.
Yeah. And that's definitely, I don't know, what inspired that was just the artist's mindset. And there's a version of myself kind of right behind myself telling me I'm not, like, this isn't going to work. I don't know if you can relate to that or not, but it's just like, There's just different versions of me, and depending on the point in my life or whatever.
Sure.
I'm either feeling very confident or just a lot of self-doubt.
Right.
And that's like what those two versions are.
Right.
There's confident. I don't know how well I conveyed it, but in the video, one of them is more confident, the other one's a little bit more subdued.
Right.
Just following the. Yeah.
No, I kind of got that for sure. I also had. It's been a few months since I watched it.
Yeah.
Because it came out, 4 or 5 months ago?
Yeah, the end of March. So, somewhere in there.
Yeah. And it's, I kind of got, like, just that polarity there with your personality. And there's, like, a scene where there's, like, the mirror. You're, like, looking in the mirror. Mm-hmm. But the reflection is different than what you are.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting, for sure. And I think everyone struggles with that battle of either, maybe not everyone, but I can definitely relate with being, either like I'm the shit or I'm not shit at all.
Yeah.
You know? And, and that's just like kind of a day-to-day struggle, and that's cool that you made the song about it. I kind of have a song that's somewhat similar to that.
Yeah.
But, so you can find that on YouTube, Facebook.
You can find that on YouTube. There's a link to YouTube on Facebook.
Yeah.
There's IGTV, whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
And Bandcamp.
Nice.
Because, I choose just Bandcamp because I've had a few people say to me, I don't know, you should put it on streaming, and I'm a contrarian, and I'm just like, no, that costs me money, and you... And it's like, it's already free on Bandcamp.
Sure. So it's not on Spotify or anything?
No, it's not on Spotify. Not yet.
Yeah.
Because I'm having a dilemma with my name.
Oh, you are?
Because, like you said, I play under Cole Naylor.
Yeah.
But I've been trying out this alias, just Roscoe Naylor.
Okay.
And Facebook won't let me change the page name. So,
yeah,
and I'm like, well, I don't know who I am, because it seems Facebook's is dictating just by keeping my page name Cole Naylor. So, but it's like I created this website for Roscoe Naylor, and I had business cards for Roscoe Naylor, and now I'm at this crossroads. I don't know what to pick. I'll take any input. I don't know how you feel about the naming of things, but my initial reasoning was pretty much just to create this separation between just like my creative endeavors and my personal life.
Sure.
And not that, and that kind of goes into the self-doubt thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if there's this other person, quote unquote, making the music, I don't have to doubt it as much. I can kind of remove myself from it a little bit.
Sure.
And is that heady? Is that heady?
Yeah, that's fucking heady, bro.
And it's just, I don't know. And then there's another aspect of me that when I do release the stuff under this name, and all of a sudden I'm proud of it, I resent this alias that I've created. I'm like, he's taking my fucking work.
Yeah.
Like, that's mine. That's Cole's. That's not Roscoe's. And it's the same last name because I think I started music real heavy when my dad passed away.
Okay.
And it was a year after he passed away. I played live. I think exactly a year.
Nice. So you think you kind of did that to, honor your father?
I kept the last name, yeah. I want to keep the last name.
I like it.
Just as a surname. Like, that was important. But the first name, I was just like, Cole. And Roscoe's kind of close-ish. It's got Cole at the end. So it's like, I don't know. I probably think too much about it and should just go with Cole Naylor.
I don't know. I kind of like Roscoe Naylor, too.
Yeah. If Facebook would let me change my fucking page name, maybe I'd do it.
I think there's something like... Because we had the same issue with Subatomic Hero and our old name, and we had to change our old name because of legal names. There was another band out there with the same name that we looked for it, and then all of a sudden these guys just like came up and they had like a record deal.
Oh.
And so we got a message from them, and it was like, we either fight them to the tooth and nail, or just get a new name. And we ended up really liking our new name. But I remember we had the same issue with Facebook, but there was something that you had to do, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm going to take a look at it.
Sweet. Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Because because the original conundrum was Cole Naylor without any periods or spaces or like underscores was taken. And that's like, I was like, oh, I should just go with Roscoe then, because I've already been thinking about it. And then the same company owns both of these things.
Right.
And it's like, it's funny how much these corporations dictate local music.
Right.
Just at a small scale.
True.
With my obsession over the naming of things. And, but then recently the name Cole Naylor opened up, so I grabbed it on a different account.
Nice.
So I'm sitting on both of them. I just need Facebook.
Right. But you have the domain for Roscoe.
I have the domain for both of them.
Oh,
because
okay.
I bought Cole Naylor years and years ago because of how vain I am. Not really. Or maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I recently bought the name for Roscoe because nobody, like, looking up the name, nobody really has that name.
Yeah.
It's a unique name.
I like it.
Yeah.
It kind of just rolls off the tongue.
Uh-huh.
I know what you mean when you can kind of, like, disassociate from yourself when it comes to your, like, creative endeavors. Yeah. You know what I mean? But then also you kind of, like, obviously you're putting your personal struggle in it.
Uh-huh.
But, like, we've been working on this single, and hopefully it will come out in the next month or so.
Yeah.
And it's called Psycho Billy.
Okay.
And so, like, Billy is, like, my alter ego.
Okay.
But it's, like, my, like, evil alter ego.
Uh-huh.
And so that's kind of just what the song is about, like, is kind of like my evil side, my other half, you know.
Yeah.
And, like, struggling with, you know, because I think everyone has, you know, their good side and their bad side. And we, like, struggle with fighting our own demons, you know. And sometimes, like, you can just become that, you know.
Yeah.
But that also doesn't have to define who you are, you know.
Yeah.
But, so cool, yeah. I will definitely, if you would like, you could send me the track and we could play it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Just to give our listeners a taste of what you got going on.
Sweet.
And then otherwise you can find you on Bandcamp under the name Roscoe Naylor.
Correct.
Or Facebook as Cole Naylor.
As Cole Naylor. Maybe Roscoe Naylor at some point
in the near future.
Yeah. I hope.
I think there's just some weird, like, little glitch thing that's going on with Facebook.
Yeah.
Because we had, like, it was funny because, like, I had the same problem, and then I had to, like, go onto my phone to do it or something, or I had to go onto my computer.
Yeah.
I forget what happened, but we'll move on.
This is Facebook troubleshooting.
Yeah.
Call.
Yeah. People don't want to hear about it. Okay. So did you take lessons, or are you self-taught? A little bit of both? Or?
Self-taught.
Okay. Nice.
Self-taught. Like I said earlier, my dad taught me like the bare minimum of just G, C, and D and guitar.
Right.
And I wasn't quite.
Okay.
I wasn't proficient at all. I didn't care. Like I said, I wasn't interested in music when I was a little kid. So he taught me like the basics, so I knew it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm just, I don't know. I perceive people that know theory as kind of these mad scientists, and they're kind of grabbing their chemicals or their formulas or whatever, and they're putting together. And making these things. I'm a little kid that found his way into the lab. And I'm just like figuring out what works together.
Right.
And then a lot of shit blows up in my face.
Right. Yeah.
As a result, because I know the bare minimum as far as theory goes. I know that there's 12 notes.
Right.
And I know that scales follow a pattern. That's about it.
Right.
So it's fun being dumb.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit more rewarding to, like,
Sure.
when something works, it's like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
And, of course, over time, you kind of learn what goes together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just have a feel for it.
Yeah.
But I cannot, I can't jam. I don't go to jam sessions unless you show me the root note.
Yeah. That's how I am with piano.
Yeah.
Like, my bandmates will start jamming.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just like, what key are we in? But that's the beautiful thing about music is you really don't have to know, like, a lot about theory to apply it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if the same could be said with something like math or science. Like, you really, you kind of do have to know the theory to apply it. But in a way, you do know the theory with your ear.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know what if you know what sounds good, then you have some sort of theory going on there. You know?
Just as long as you're not tone deaf, yeah.
Like, but I know a decent amount of theory, but sometimes I'm just like, oh, I just know that this chord works with that chord. And sometimes it's not even in the same key.
Yeah.
You know? But it just works.
Yeah.
And as long as you can hear it, I'm sure.
Just feel it. That's kind of...
Yeah.
Sometimes that gets tired, too. It's just like filling things out. You just sort of... Jesus, I don't know what fucking works, and I need a different creative outlet. So, yeah. Yeah, it's good to have other outlets to, like, for me, like, I'll be working on something in the piano, and then I'll be like, all right, I've kind of, like, exhausted myself with this today. Maybe I'll go on the drums for a little, or maybe I'll draw a little bit. Yeah. Or maybe I'll work on some social media stuff. Or a podcast. Yeah. It's good to have options, for sure, man. Yeah. I was just talking to Alex, a mutual friend of ours, and he was, like, talking about how there's muscles in your ear that, like, when you're, like, mixing or something all day, like you're mixing a song, those, like, muscles get worn out and, like, you lose the ability to hear higher frequencies over time. Yeah. So, like, that's why, like, they say, like, you shouldn't mix, like, a full song in one day. Yeah. You should, like, do it throughout different days. Yeah. Which, that's pretty crazy. I never knew that. No? Yeah. That's just how I work, because I know I can't. After a day of scrutinizing myself, I'm not objective at all. It's just like, everything sucks. I don't like music. I think I quit probably once a week. Right. And it's just, but it's like, it really helps. And I know when I first write something, I call it like the fire phase. Okay. Because everything sounds like fire. Yeah. This is fucking amazing. But you gotta give it a few days to cool off. And then you come back to it. If it's still good, I'm like, all right, cool, this might be a good song. If it's not, more often than not, I don't like it. Yeah. So, but, like, I know if I wait a couple of days and I do like it, that's something I'm generally okay with. Generally.
I know what you mean. Like, I go through the exact same process of, like, I'll come up with a new song, and I'll be like, oh, this song is so much better than, like, the rest of the songs that we have. And then, like, 3 days later, you're like, oh, the song sucks. Yeah. And I, like, probably every song that I've written, I've gone back at least 5 different times and changed it.
Yeah, for sure.
Until I'm like, all right, this is as good as it's going to get. You know? Yeah. And then you just have to either accept it or just throw it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Lately I've been thinking of, like, what's been at the front of my mind is how do I keep people's attention in an interesting way in a song. And I used to be all about exposition and just, like, long, drawn-out introductions and things like that. And,
right.
And just, like, this is the song you get, and then halfway through change it or whatever. And now it's like, okay, this is interesting. How do I make it interesting again in this next part? Sure. And so on and so forth. I like thinking more about that and less about, this is just my expression. But, like, looking at it as a more, I guess, listener perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had to, like, really think about that, too. Is like, listening to a song you've written as a musician versus listening to a song you've written as just your average listener.
Yeah.
You know? And, like, so with Subatomic Hero, we like to do, like, a lot of, like, different time signatures or chord or, like, key modulations, like change a key in the middle of a song or something. But, which is really fun to do as a musician. But then, like, you have to make it in a way that your listeners won't be like, eh?
Yeah.
You know, like, what just happened, you know? It has to almost come with ease.
Yeah. That's another thing about not knowing any theory from me or anything like that is every once in a while I'll do some fancy shit in one of my songs and I have no idea I'm doing it.
Right.
And I have my girlfriend who I've been dating for a couple years. Nice. She was like a vocal performance major and she knows a little bit more than I do. Right. And she's like, I'll usually go to her about time signatures and I'm like, what's going on here? And she'll tell me and I'm like, hey, that's like out of my reach, but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's, like, goes back to, like, you don't have to know the theory. Like, the Beatles did all kinds of different time signatures, different key modulations, but they didn't know the exact theory behind it.
Yeah.
You know? They just did it. They were like, oh, that'd be cool if we tried doing this. You know? And then a lot of it was just by ear. It definitely helps, I think, to know what you are doing sometimes, but it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Like, for me, like, I'll intentionally be like, oh, like, I need to spice this up a little bit. Maybe I'll change the key. You know, or maybe I'll change the time signature. So it does help in that regard to, like, intentionally do it. But if you can do it without the intention or without the conscious intention of doing it, like, then why not?
Yeah.
So that's cool. So do you think she's kind of shaped your songwriting in any other ways?
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure she has.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the answer to that. I'm sure she has. I can't pinpoint specific things.
Sure,
but
sure. Yeah.
I know with folk music and
Whoops. Go ahead.
Just with folk music, and just being with only lyrics and a guitar. It's already inherently vulnerable. You don't have much to hide behind. So I'm lyrically much more cryptic. And I'll throw in like some lines or whatever that like have a guise of more vulnerability, but it's just very cryptic. So I'm the only one that knows what the lyrics are about. And she may have inspired me to kind of be a little bit more transparent, I think, with actually I don't know. I'd like to think that. I'd like to think she's inspired me to be more transparent, but truth is lately I've been doing kind of more just boots and pants and bass heavy type recording, so real It's real beat driven, four to the floor kind of, just songs that are kind of like still have those sad progressions behind them, but just a little bit more movement. And I think it's a little bit easier to be more vulnerable lyrically with that. So the stuff I've been writing has been like that, but it's just like a little bit more in your face.
Nice.
Just. I've never written about my praying habits, but like one of the songs that's like real drum and bass heavy is like got lines about that, and it's like, nice. What is this?
That's cool.
It's like, why am I sharing this?
Yeah, I guess that can kind of be like that's hard to talk about openly. Things like prayer and meditation, but also, I think it's pretty important to leading a spiritual life as well.
Yeah.
So, I just think, maybe some people are closed off to it and some people are open to it. So it really depends on what your audience is like, too.
Definitely.
And, we can go into that more if you'd like. Or
sure, we could wait till late. We could save it.
Yeah, let's save it. Let's take a break for now.
Okay.
And then we'll come back.
All right, sweet.
I tried 5 times just to say what I think of you, just to preach what I think is the truth, just to bleed, just to scream, just to leave. Oh no, oh well, it did not go my way. Oh no, oh well, I'll live, I'll be okay. By my side the whole time that I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and I could not quite get it right, so I lied to myself, I was frightened. Could not hide, so you lied right beside me, Oh no, oh well, it did not go your way. Oh no, oh well, you'll live, you'll be okay.
Now officially live. Alright, guys, we are back at Heady Set Go. Alright, cool. Or should I say, Roscoe?
Maybe.
So yeah, we started talking about some spirituality. And, yeah, you know, it's something that we like to talk about here on Heady Set Go.
Okay.
Or at least I'd like to talk about more.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about prayer, and I was actually talking about this yesterday too. There's this really amazing book that I have read at some point. It's called The Power of Eight. Have you heard of it?
No.
I'm pretty sure the author is Lynn McTaggart. I could be wrong.
Also, real quick, I want to interrupt you. Do we want to get rid of that noise?
Yes, we do want to get rid of that noise.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me.
Sure. There's that little cap is still right there by the...
Yeah, we could use that. This might work too. We'll do the cap. The whistle of death is gone.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so The Power of Eight is a book by Lynn McTaggart. It's a really amazing book, and she talks about... Well, the whole book is about her, like... She's, like, works together with... She's, like, an investigative journalist, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And she works with the scientists, and they kind of use the scientific method to study the power of prayer. And for a long time, I just didn't, personally, I didn't think there was any validity to prayer.
Sure.
It just sounded like, hocus pocus, like, oh, yeah, sure, just pray and shit will be fine. And, but what's really cool is this book, she talks about, she'd get together with these groups of people and they'd all have, like, intention, like prayer intentions, and usually it was like with a group of 8 people. At least that's where she started off with, and then they kind of just like grew and grew into bigger groups.
Yeah.
But they'd have someone like who was like injured, or maybe they had like some sort of illness, physical illness, and then like they do these groups of like prayer intention for that person, and then they would like miraculously just start to see this person become better. And then they just did it in bigger and bigger groups, and then like now they do like these online groups. It's become so big that you can like join her like email list, and they're like, oh, prayer this week is we're gonna pray for this person, or we're gonna pray for like this group of people, or like They've even done it with like areas of the world where there's like a lot of crime rate and murder, and then they do that, and then they see like direct correlation with the crime rate go down afterwards.
Really,
which is really it's a really tremendous thing, and so like that's really what got me into prayer originally.
Yeah,
and I think the key is not to have selfish intention behind it.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's critical.
Yeah.
But I think... Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Where are you at with this?
With prayer in general, I mean, I grew up in a Christian home.
Okay.
So, and like growing up, I was always skeptical.
Sure.
And like I said, I just didn't see any immediate results it was producing. And in fact, there's like a lot of those common young Christian questions of why does so much bad shit happen?
Right, yeah.
And like, and you're trying to sell me on this idea of like this kind of omnipotent thing that's also benevolent.
Right.
Wait, hold on, I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
But I still kind of pray to that omnipotent, benevolent thing just out of habit.
Sure.
And it's just how my dad was. But nowadays, I think prayer for me is more of it's just an exercise in mindfulness. And it's inviting something else that's not my own thoughts,
Right.
like into my head, like just kind of this meditative kind of,
Right.
trying to be mindful and kind of letting things kind of pass through. And I think, like, it's interesting that you say that they did these studies and it affected these areas on a bigger whole. And I feel like just like being mindful and self-accepting, you kind of, it's easier to extend that.
Right.
And as a result, people will extend it further, and there's a ripple.
Yeah, a ripple effect.
So that's kind of where my head is at it. So, but the important thing about it is just to keep an open mind.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, I would say if anyone new to, maybe you need some prayer in your life, or, just don't expect crazy things to happen.
Yeah.
But also, keep an open mind that things might get better.
Yeah. And like the same thing may take on a different name for like many people. Whereas prayer for one person may be meditation for another, and meditation for one person may be prayer for that.
Right.
Like, and so on and so forth. It's just kind of what prescription suits you.
Yeah. For sure.
And I think that's why it's important to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Is because, like, maybe in my mind it's totally okay to pray to God or whoever, but that might offend somebody else. And it's like, well, I don't have to label it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't have to be religious to practice prayer.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people they stop.
Yeah.
Because they have their own, dare I say, resentments towards religion, and I have definitely, I grew up Christian as well, but then I grew up Lutheran, and so I had the option to leave the church at age 14.
Really?
Once you're confirmed Lutheran, you either get to leave or stay. It's up to you.
Really? At 14?
Yeah. And so I left just because for a long time I was just I never had an issue with the church in particular that I went to. Pastor was a really nice guy. People were nice there. It's not like I was being suppressed in any way. But it was more the history behind Christianity that I was not happy with. And I just didn't want to be affiliated with that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my practice of prayer also left me at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that was beneficial to me at the time. I prayed a lot as a kid, especially for my family. That was something that I always prayed for, and that always. I think that did bring me a lot of good, and then I didn't do it for a long time until I came across this book, The Power of Eight, and then I was able to kind of conjure up some faith again in what prayer really is,
Yeah.
And I'm still not a religious person, but I do respect people's religion and the freedom to practice religion.
Yeah.
And I think most Christians out there aren't starting crusades anymore.
Yeah. So if I got a question for you, if you leave the Lutheran Church when you're 14, are you allowed back, or is that?
No, you're allowed back.
Okay.
Yeah, you're allowed back anytime.
So that's just your first shot to.
Yeah.
Do they open that back up if you stay every couple of years? If you sure you don't want to leave?
I don't know. That's a good question.
You took the out. First go.
I just took the out, and I've been thinking about maybe finding a new church just to see what it's like again. Because I haven't stepped foot in the church. Well, I have. But not to practice,
Yeah, I got you.
I've been looking into the Seventh-day Adventist Church recently.
Okay. Yeah.
Just I really like a lot of their principles behind it. A lot of them are they're really into health, and a lot of them are vegetarians, and there's a group of Seventh-day Adventists who are in the blue zone when it comes to health, which I don't know if you're aware of.
I'm not.
So the blue zone is the healthiest group of people in the earth.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's a group of, not all Seventh-day Adventists, don't think practice it as much. I think it used to be more of a strict thing, like you can only eat this and this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's also a part of me that's kind of like scared to walk in that door. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's weird.
Yeah, it's a weird. There's still like a little bit of this in my mind. Like I'm like see it as like a cult a little bit. You know what I mean? But I was listening to this podcast recently. Really, someone explained it in a really great way. Like, do you know who Brett Weinstein is?
No.
He's like this really, I wouldn't call it, he's a biologist actually.
Okay.
But he's like this really smart dude, and he like has this really amazing podcast, and he talks a lot about like political things that are like happening right now, and he like tries to explain it more in depth and like why they're happening. And and he was talking about, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Okay.
And they were talking about like the kind of cultism behind religion, and Brett is Jewish, and he put it in a really cool way. He's like, well, there's kind of like this overarching theme with religions that seems to be that there's not so much like a leader sometimes as there is this higher power that they're kind of worshiping. And the way that I see it, like, have you ever heard of well, you know what DMT is, right?
I do know what it is.
Yeah. So, let's see. There's this book, it's called DMT and the Soul of Prophecy.
Okay.
And so, like, basically when anyone takes any form of DMT... the DMT and the Soul of Prophecy by Rick Strassman. And so, basically, like, there's like this overarching theme of entities and like alien beings or what have you that people meet when they take DMT.
Okay.
And so DMT and the Soul of Prophecy is directly like correlating that with the same beings that people meet or that they talk about in the Hebrew Bible.
Oh.
And they're all the same. And so it just blows your mind when you're reading the thing because you're like, I think a lot of people get this idea of hallucinogenics or psychedelics that they're just like seeing these things, like they're just projecting them into the world, like they're just like losing their mind.
Yeah.
Where I think it's way more spiritual than that, and it's not that at all. It's more that you're like leaving this realm that we exist in and seeing other realms, you know? And in these other realms exist different beings, different entities, and like saints and sages have been talking about these for like years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like, if there's this overarching theme, if this thing keeps coming up and these entities keep coming up, that, you know, maybe it's not just something someone's making up. You know, maybe like there is a reason why, you know, that people create these religions. And like, if you look, I consider myself an omnius, which is like, I believe there's a truth within all religions, like an overarching truth that people are like, there's a moral truth. And I think most people can agree with, like, the Ten Commandments. You know, like, don't steal, don't kill, like...
Yeah.
Don't do bad things.
Yeah.
You know? But I think some people have, like, exploited religions in the past.
Sure.
Where you stand with that, Cole? I kind of went off a rant there.
No, it's fine. I don't know. I think if if you carry your beliefs respectfully,
Yeah.
then it's very easy to respect that. However, if your motivation is to guilt people in the hopes that they will believe what you believe, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of, I think I like that idea of omniscience. That there's like, I think I would agree with that. You can certainly find truth in what people believe. But definitely, I'm of the mindset of just essentially what I said. If you carry your beliefs respectfully, like, what's not to respect?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna get mad at you for minding your own business.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's like me, like, religiously, like, I don't think religion is exclusive to spirituality or vice versa. I think they can coexist separately.
Sure.
I go through phases of feeling more Christian, and I go through phases where I don't feel Christian.
Right.
And I think it's important. I think, like, if I were to tie that into religion at all, I would say Jesus would forgive me for that.
Yeah, sure. I would hope so.
Yeah, I would hope so. Like, that's benevolent. That's the benevolent thing I want to believe.
Nice.
But as far as tying that into psychedelics, I don't know.
You're not on that level yet?
I'm not on that level yet. I'm not that heady. But,
no, I respect it. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying everyone out there should go and smoke some DMT or inject DMT or
It's a disclaimer.
take mushrooms. I'm just there just seems to be this overarching theme and pattern with the spiritual realm of existence and it goes into quantum theory. It goes into string theory of relativity. And so there's real math, there's real science behind it too, which makes it even more interesting. And like we kind of go into that. If you look on our website, we go into it a little bit.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's good to talk about these things.
Yeah,
and see.
definitely.
I think if you talk to most people, they do believe there's something out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think, I agree with you. It's hard. It's kind of like the alternative is just pretty inherently sad.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a lot of confidence just to accept that and like go about your life, because that also it's just a difficult pill for me personally to swallow. It's like, there's nothing out there, and when we die, we're done. Yeah. And it's like, okay, and if you find some kind of greater power, even if it ends up being just a coping mechanism, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Sure.
Yeah. If that's your question.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
I just I think it's rare to meet a complete nihilist.
Yeah.
Who's just like, no, like nothing means nothing, and like we're all just meat machines stuck here on this rock.
What would that be? That would be neutral. Just what is it in Dungeons and Dragons? What's the mid-level?
I don't know.
there's like chaotic, lawful, or like chaotic good and lawful good, or it's like it would be neutral.
Okay.
Whatever is midline.
Yeah.
Like totally indifferent to everything.
Yeah.
But that's not. I don't know. It's just not very. I don't know.
It's not very. Even being indifferent is somewhat unproductive.
Yeah, unproductive.
Or some people even consider it to be evil, just to be indifferent.
Yeah, they do.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I was agnostic for a long time, and I think it's a good place to be, because it's like, you're not like completely just being like, no, there's no sort of higher power or God whatsoever.
Uh-huh.
Because because I haven't been presented with the proof that there is one yet.
Yeah.
Like, that was my belief,
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen God before.
Uh-huh.
There's never been a physical, like, entity that I've met that's, like, God, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm also haven't been presented with the fact that there's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Exactly.
So I think it's a little crazy to be like, oh yeah, there's just no God whatsoever. There's no higher power whatsoever. There's nothing out there, just because I have never been presented with evidence. You know.
Yeah.
That's like saying, you know, clouds aren't real almost because I've never touched a cloud. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, you can see clouds, so that's kind of a bad argument. But
well, I haven't touched one.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't touch it. It's not real.
It's not tangible.
You can only see it. No. I don't know, but there's probably a better example. But
sure.
So your spirituality, you would say that influences your music a lot. It sounds like somewhat, maybe.
Yeah, I would.
Nice.
Because there's definitely, I think, growing up in a Christian home, it definitely comes with a lot of moral dilemmas. Like trying out different lifestyles, you know, or like I don't know.
There's some not great lifestyles that you can live out.
Yeah, and he's like, do I want to? Like, he's like, no, you can't do that. It's like, but then it's like, why not? If I'm not.
Yeah. What does it matter?
What does it matter?
There's no consequence.
Yeah.
Right.
So but definitely that dilemma influenced the music a lot, and just whatever relationship I have with spirituality or religion definitely influences. But most of my music is just more personal. And oftentimes it's about, there's definitely a person or someone in mind that really inspires it, or just a point in my life that has inspired the music.
Sure.
Like the song "The Good News" is just basically what it's about is kind of convincing people that I am hot shit and I'm right and you were wrong, even though I'm completely delusional in that moment.
Right.
Like that's what I thought at the time, but it's not true. Like in looking back on it, I was able to know, like, oh wow, I was so wrong.
Right.
And I thought I was completely right, and I was just like, that's the definition of delusion.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't in my right mind.
Sure. Sure.
And it's just kind of convincing people that I'm the good news.
Right.
And I'm not. There's a lot of remorse that comes with that. There's a lot of, if you're doing it right, you take those moments in your past and you hopefully move forward in a positive way. And maybe that song was like one positive step forward, and just kind of accepting that sometimes I could be a dirtbag, and I still can. That's the thing is, just because you recognize a past mistake, you're not exempt from future mistakes.
Sure.
I'm just as susceptible to fucking up as I've ever been.
Right.
And like that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, but you know, being aware of it is better than not being aware of it, I guess. At least when you're aware of it, you have the decision to do it or not do it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's true. Yeah.
It really, you know, depends. It depends on the context of what that decision could be.
Yeah.
But
I definitely get hung up on myself a lot, and just kind of and at the expense of others sometimes too. It's just like, whereas like I don't know, trying to find this line of like what is what is a good boundary to hold versus what is me just being a picky asshole.
Right.
It's just like what are my real needs versus what are the things that are just like, you're just annoying me in this moment, and you just stop, and I'm not willing to compromise.
Right.
And it's like that's a big part of growing up, and I never knew. It's just an interesting thought, as I recall as a little kid thinking, oh, like grown-ups just have their shit together, but I don't.
So not right at all.
Yeah. But like sometimes I do. It's just give and take.
Yeah, for
So, was there a question there? That's my catchphrase.
I don't know. No, I get what you're saying. What was I going to say about that? Like, I don't know. Obviously, no one is perfect. You know?
Yeah, that's a good mantra.
Yeah. I used to say everyone's a douchebag in their own way.
Yeah, that's really good.
It kind of adds some humility to yourself.
Yeah.
I think people, personally, I just think we're inherently selfish.
Yeah.
And not, like, it's not meant to be a malevolent thing.
Uh-huh.
You're just watching out for your tail.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, you tend to burn some people on that road of just, like... Because, like, imagine, like, back in the day where we were just, like, basically cavemen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, I just got to get through this day and, like, make sure that I'm surviving and make sure that my family is surviving or whatever.
Yeah.
But then there's also, like, obviously, like, we don't want to, like, fucking ruin other people's lives.
Uh-huh.
And I think morally most people would say, yeah, you don't want to fuck other people's lives up.
Yeah.
Trying to do what's best for you.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah. I forget who I was talking about, but I think there's like, there's so many ways to be, like, selfish, you know?
Yeah.
There's people out there who are, like, so selfish to the extreme of, like, I'm going to exploit everyone and everything that I can to, like, have the most things that I can.
Uh-huh.
Versus there's, like, people who are so selfish that they, like, they don't want to do anything with their life and then they want everything for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
For just not doing nothing.
Yeah.
And that's selfish in its own way.
It's a lot of examples, but I think at the end of your format, you said no politics.
Yeah, yeah. that becomes a little bit more political. We can talk about politics, but
no,
it doesn't have to be.
I'm good.
Yeah. It's probably best not to talk about politics.
But that's
ever.
And what you were just saying, there's a lot of examples out there about people being selfish.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on.
Okay.
So, we'll wrap it up here soon. What's the craziest story that you've run into as a musician, like, or funniest story, like, what's maybe, like, it doesn't have to be, like, either it's a show that you've played and it just ended up being nuts, or maybe it's a show that you went to, too.
Yeah.
You know?
That was the craziest. I don't know. I'm a pretty stay out of trouble kind of musician. So it's.
I feel that.
Yeah. So I don't think nothing really comes to mind.
Really?
Like my first ever show was just a pretty it was a pretty big milestone in kind of realizing what I like about music.
Yeah.
Just to spin your question a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was critical, and that it was just like one of many moments where I like the storytelling aspect of anything. Like that's kind of like of all my hobbies. That's kind of what I fall back on. Is I like storytelling.
Yeah. Nice.
And but as far as the craziest moment, I'm not a crazy. I'm not a crazy guy. If somebody says you should get in that mosh pit, I say I gotta go home, or
nice.
Or whatever.
Nice, respect. That's good, man.
But I don't know if you've heard of Andrew Bird.
Yes.
I went to I don't remember how old I was. I was a kid. I went and saw him for the first time after listening to him for a while, and it was just so surreal.
Right.
Like I likened him to a celebrity for sure. I'm just like getting to see him was pretty impactful. And he puts on a show like not many people are able to, though, the way he plays.
Oh yeah.
So that was crazy.
When was that? Recently or not recently?
No, not recently.
Okay.
I was. It was the early aughts, somewhere in the 2000s.
Okay.
That first decade. I don't know. I may have been 16.
Okay.
It's in Atlanta at Variety Playhouse.
Nice.
If you've ever been to, no. Yeah.
Never been.
Well, there's a venue called Variety Playhouse.
Okay.
Is it Variety Playhouse? I think so. I don't remember. Either way, it's like the Ogden or something.
Okay.
Like,
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a pretty, like, mid-size venue.
Maybe smaller.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'll have to check it out one day. Definitely will go there.
Yeah.
So, one last question. What inspires you most today as a musician? Doesn't necessarily have to be music related.
Probably my son.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Feels like a corny answer, but it's true. I didn't care to exist in any kind of creative way before him. I was just like, whatever. But it's like seeing him grow up and mold this little mini identity kind of like inspires me to want to do the same.
That's awesome.
And it's just interesting to like see his personality form and just kind of around the same time try to find my own, just kind of like quote public because that's not famous by any stretch, and I'm like not. I don't know that I have any fans.
Right.
I may have had some fans, but I probably have alienated them. And just kind of like, I don't think there's a persona, but there's definitely a different version of myself that comes alive when I'm put on the spot, and that has evolved a little bit over time, just like a grown boy.
Yeah.
So he's definitely up there.
That's awesome, man. So you're pretty involved with his life.
Yeah, I love him.
That's awesome.
And I'm more strict than I've ever imagined myself to be.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another human being you gotta look after.
But it's like this, yeah. And I work at this place with it. I don't know. Yeah.
Someone recently said that you never truly grow up until you're responsible for another living being.
I don't know if I agree with that. Because there's a lot of asshole dads out there.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's like a lot of really cool people that don't have kids that feel like a lot of obligation for their community.
Right on. Yeah.
So,
I respect that answer.
but I like the saying as a dad.
Yeah. As a dad, you're like, yeah.
But there's like, I don't know, it's, with a child, it's just so much easier to see when I'm acting like a child. Like I'm faster to reflect on those things. Because I still do. Like
sure.
I have moments where I feel really ashamed, often.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, I feel good that I have those feelings because like I'm not a sociopath.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Maybe I am, and maybe that's a manufactured feeling of shame.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
But it's different. It's not. I won't say it's good or bad, but it's different.
All right.
And some people really love it. Some people don't.
Yeah. I mean, I've never thought about that, but that does make a lot of sense. Like, if you're around a child a lot, you'd be like, oh, I kind of do that too.
Yeah, it's acting like such a shit.
But I'm sure there's a lot of wisdom that comes from that. My dad was definitely pretty strict growing up, but he's become more mellow along the way. And like you need that. You need someone to be kind of strict.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want your kid running around doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
And it's for their own damn good.
But yeah, it's different for sure.
Right on. That's awesome.
Uh-huh.
Well, we will close it at that. I look forward to having you on the show again.
Awesome.
Cole Naylor, otherwise known as Roscoe Naylor.
hopefully just Roscoe Naylor at some point.
Yeah. And we will... Oh, yeah, check out his new single, The Good News. Really cool music video. I would just look it up on YouTube, I would suggest. And, yeah, I'm going to close it at that. Peace out.
Thanks, Quinn.
Yeah. Thank you.